Merry Christmas, Carol and Frank. Christmas of '86. I hope you enjoy this tape. I tried to make a title up for it, and I think the best I can call it is Memories with You. And I'd like to dedicate it to both of you. So I was afraid that I might forget something, so I'll read it. Something that I wrote myself. Carol and Frank, I would like to thank you for everything you've given me. I am thankful for memories, for baby smiles, baby talk, and tiny arms tucked around my neck that made the frustration of getting up at night less of a burden and more of a joy. For trips across the country together in the car, making up our own words to silly songs as we drove along. For winter evenings, decorating Christmas trees and getting ready for the big family Christmas dinners we always enjoyed. For the story of Jesus on Christmas. For bedtime talks, for walks in the mountains, and time together trying to catch our limit. For playing games, pulling me off the couch and running so I couldn't catch you. For the 4th of Julys and Halloweens and helping me feel like a kid again. For sharing a night of Elvis Presley, basketball games, Teen Town, and helping me to feel like a teenager again. I'm thankful for learning. For your individual differences, which helped me discover that I could love two unique children just as deeply, even when they are different from me too. For your imagination, Frank, and for Carol's love of pets. For making me work hard at being a parent, taking care of you when I was tired, sick, or sleepy, saying no when I know it was best for you, even if it made you mad at me, but trying to be there when you needed me. Too, for your love. For Carol, who spent lots of time taking care of her baby brother and me, for always being there when I felt down to say, I love you. For Frank, who always made me laugh and enjoy life more. For his sharing my love for photography, traveling, people, and writing. For both of you, forgiving me for not being the perfect father, forgetting the times I got angry when I should have understood, the times I worried when I should have trusted. I loved you as a child, and I love you more today as an adult. Famous Golden Point on the corner of Truman Road and River in Independence, Missouri. Fred Mills was the manager there at this time, and he hired Frank at the age of 14 to come in and work for him. We think this is where Frank learned all his talents of cooking and how to make those delicious French fries that he was famous for at McDonald's. This is the Independence, Missouri Sanitarium, located on Truman Road. This is the hospital that Carol was born in. And off to the side there is the new hospital where Frank was born. The old hospital was demolished in 1985 to make room for a parking lot. This is Christmas morning, 1947. The blue outfit there, Grandma Mac made for one of Carol's dolls. Carol is almost 5 years old, and Frank a little over 14 months old. Mary is opening one of her presents from the children. Looks like a cake decorator. And now one for Daddy. Oh, a nice pocket watch for Daddy to take to work. Here's Frank and his cousin James Dyer. This is Virginia's boy. And here's Grandma Murdoch with her two grandsons. And here we have Janet Dyer. She belongs to Virginia. And Janet's laying in a bed that I had made for Carol's dolls. Here's the children in the front yard at 219 North Huddick with their mother. It's September 1948, and Carol's coming home from her first day at Fairmount School. Frank's playing in his backyard. You note that we had it all fenced in so that the children couldn't get out in the streets. Here's Frank with his mother. And we had a cherry tree in the backyard that Carol is finding the first ripe cherries on. This was also in 1948. Well, here's my paper boy, bringing in the paper. Well, I guess he changed his mind. He'd rather play with that car he has in his hand. We had a gym set in the backyard for the children to play on, and they made good use of it. Here's Carol and Frank on the glider with their first dog, Susie. Well, here it is, 1948, and we've gone to see the Seamans in Cleveland, Ohio. We rode up there on the train. I can remember taking the Missouri Pacific out of Independence, Missouri to St. Louis and then transferring to the New York Central. These scenes and the picnic are on the shore of Lake Erie. Here we have Frank and Mary, Ruth and Everett, and here's Sherry. I had to bring the high chair along for Sherry. Well, as it was in World War II, we're still enjoying picnics with the Seamans. Here's the girls and Frank and me waiting on the shore of Lake Erie. Carol, all ready for school. This is September 1949, and she and her mother are going to the Fairmount School. This is the first grade. And here comes Daddy home from school with Carol, carrying his camera case. And here come the neighborhood children, the Fosslin girls and Norman and the Fuhrer girls. It's also 1948, and we're at the Lake of the Ozarks at Easterly's Resort. Jean and Hattie. Here's Grandpa Murdoch with Frank. And Carol with the life jacket. And there's Rex Dyer, Virginia's husband.
There's Grandma Murdoch in the water. And here's Daddy. And it looks like Carol's caught a fish. This is Frank's second birthday. There's Grandpa Murdoch. There's Grandma Murdoch, Molly holding Susie, and Grandpa Mac, and Frank trying to make the rounds showing his presence. These people are friends of Mr. and Miss Murdoch's. We have Grandma Mac and Carol. And here we have Patricia dancing. Frank always liked to give the girls a good hug. Here's Frank and Jimmy out at the kitchen table. And we have Patricia in the high chair, and here we have Carol. Well, it's time to blow those candles out, Frank. Come on, Wendy. And here's Jimmy and Frank at their little table. The children, Carol, had a little set of chairs and tables. Boy, Frank loves that ice cream. Look at them go. Jimmy's not so rough. Here's Frank out in the backyard playing with the dog again. Looks like he's really going to make him mine. This is the foundation for the screened-in porch I was working on. Here we have the Halloween party, 1948. Here's Carol bobbing for apples. Viola Fostlin, our good neighbor. And here it is, Christmas 1949. Frank and Carol decorating the tree. The little dresser there and the bench I made, and Mary fixed the material to cover it. Looks like Carol's showing him how to operate the train. Here's Mother. And here's some of Frank's toys. He's found them and making good use of them. Look at that smile. That's a happy boy. Have Grandma Mac there. Grandma and Grandpa Mac would always walk up the alley and be there bright and early on Christmas morning when the children got up. They wanted to see the excitement. Here's Carol and Frank having a tea party at their table. Notice those beautiful aluminum dishes, not plastic. And Frank with his little piano. It looks like a toy soldier there in the background. Carol had many, many dolls, beautiful dolls, just to match her looks. Well, I think these two children had a very merry, merry Christmas and a happy Christmas. There's Frank and his daddy playing with the train. This is a winter scene on the shore of Lake Mille, where Mom and Dad had built a cottage on the shore. These films are not mine, and I accidentally got them in this group of pictures. This was one winter that they stayed in Minnesota just to see the ice break up or the ice come in, and didn't come home for Christmas. Oh, they are now just beginning to build their home here on the shore of Lake Mille. So I'm not really sure where they rented and spent that winter up there. The house wasn't very large, but it had a large glassed-in porch on the front. And it was a place where Carol and Frank, Patricia and Susie spent a lot of their summers. So I know they have lots of good memories of this place. This is summer 1952, and apparently Bill is there on vacation, because here is Patricia and Susie and Grandma in the yard. Here's Bill horsing around with the wheelbarrow, and as I think back now, It may be that the folks didn't spend that winter up there in Minnesota, because the only winter they spent in Minnesota was in this house. I remember them driving home just in time to be there for Christmas one year. Well, the house looks a little more complete now. I don't know who these people are. But my mother had a pet lamb, and apparently it's the one that's doing all the chasing, and seems to be enjoying every minute of it. And I'm sure my father was enjoying taking these pictures. These people I do not know either. And this is a fall scene on the north shore of Lake Mille Lacs on State Highway number 18. Very, very beautiful, the fall colors. This was a little store and filling station that they did lots of their shopping at. Lots of beautiful maples along and birch along this road. This is one of the neighborhood ladies that the folks were real friendly with. And now we have a better view of the house with its siding on it. Later on, the Schultzes built a building in between the folks and that other house that you saw, and operated a launch service for fishermen. You notice the big oil tank they heated with fuel oil. The house was very, very well insulated, and they had no problem at all with freezing or keeping warm. Here's my father cleaning the beach on the shore of Lake Mille Lacs. I think this was a yearly job. My mother often told me that these were the happiest 10 years of her life spent right here. And there's their dog, Mickey. Well, now we're back at 219 North Huddick, and we're having a picnic in the backyard. The folks are home. Bill and Maxine and their children came up, and we're just having a family picnic. Here's Patricia. I'll say one thing, it sure looks like a hungry bunch. Even that little fellow sitting there by Grandma, he looks hungry. These scenes are 1952. Well, it's school time again. Here it is, September 1952, and the children are going to school. And here they are coming up Scarrett, going to the west, which would be towards Fairmount School. And here's Grandma Mac down on the playgrounds trying to help them get started. There's Carol, there's Frank, there's Susie and Patricia. There's all four right there. And here's scenes out on the playground. And here's scenes of the folks' house at 202 North Ash. They built this small place and then sold the other place to Bill, the old home place, which is this one at 204 North Ash. Christmas time again. Here it is, 1953. Look at that toy that Frank got. That'd be a collector's item today. And here are their stockings hanging on the chest that used to belong to Grandmother Hastings. Boy, this thing really did some tricks, didn't it? Carol with another new doll. Carol's growing into a beautiful young lady. And this must have been a little later in the morning. Frank is all cleaned up and probably waiting on company. Here he's trying his luck at singing and playing the xylophone. And Carol always had a touch for art, and here she is with one of the dishes she's painting. Oh, you just don't see metal toys like this anymore. Perfume and jewelry. A beautiful bracelet. Here's Frank with his mother. Looks like he got a gun. And here's Daddy sitting with them at the tree again. Time again, 1954. These falls are on the north shore of Lake Superior. Mary and the children thought they'd go wading, but look at them get out. That water was ice cold. And in the distance there on that tall bluff overlooking Lake Superior is the lighthouse we have visited so many times. These are scenes near Port Arthur. Now we're in Canada, looking at Kakabek Falls. We're in one of the Canadian campgrounds, fixing breakfast. They certainly had some beautiful parks up there, very, very clean. Here's an old train at Duluth. And now we're back on Mille Lacs Lake again, spending a few days with the folks. Here's Mom and Dad on the dock. Here's Mary right out on the dock. And the children and their mother having a good time on the shore here of Malak. Now here's Frank been out fishing, coming in with a couple of nice walleyes. He was a good fisherman. Here's Frank and Carol and Patricia and Susie all down on the dock. Here's Mary on the dock, the children, looking back towards the folks' cabin there. Here's Carol and Frank and Mary over at Crosby, Minnesota, looking at the world's largest open pit mine. And here they are at Paul Bunyan's, Brainerd, Minnesota. This was always a fun place to go. I know when you bought your ticket to enter, they'd always ask you the children's name, and then they'd call out Frank and Carol, and they'd seem so surprised. Here's Frank sitting on Paul Bunyan's dog. And here he is playing with the bear. And now with the rabbits. And now pulling in one of Paul Bunyan's big fish. Look at that reel. This year the fire truck ride was one of the top exhibits. And here they go. Well, it looks like another picnic. Maybe it was just snack time there at Paul Bunyan's. And back again on Malak. And now home for Frank's birthday, 1954. Here he is with his bicycle. He was sure a proud boy that day. Here he is with his mother and Freddie Ammerman, I believe. Now coming down Huddock and bringing it in. Here's the party out in the backyard. And Shirley Fosslin. Mac made this birthday cake for Frank's 8th birthday in 1954, and here's a way the table was decorated with all the presents. Reynolds girls, Shirley, Patricia and Susie, Grandma Mac and Grandpa Mac were always on hand for birthdays and Christmas. They were always on hand for anything that was going on while they were in town. This is Christmas Eve, 1954, the night before Christmas. I think the family was gathered there that evening to pass out presents before Santa Claus put his under the tree. So it's bedtime, and the night before Christmas, there's Frank with his teddy bear, and Carol all snuggled in, waiting for the big morning, and here it is. Looks like we have all kinds of goodies. There's a tray full of candy. Picture of Frank with Santa Claus. I think that was one of those jumping pogo sticks he's got there. And a couple of guns and holsters. My, are you tired, Grandma? And look at that outfit. There's Sir Knight Frank. His shield and sword. Here's Mary in the kitchen, checking on the turkey, and Aunt Peg standing in back of her. And here's Mom to give an expert hand in it too. This is the Christmas table down in the basement. Got the fire going in the fireplace. And Frank doing a little artwork here on the blackboard. Grandma and Grandma Murdoch, Uncle Bill, Patricia, Mary, there's Dad. There's Dad serving up the English plum pudding. Aunt Peg. This was really one of the things Frank enjoyed the most, was that English plum pudding. Here's Carol and Daddy and Frank talking or looking over something. There's Mary and me in front of the fireplace. And a lot of good times down in the rec room. These pictures are taken at the Lake of the Ozarks on the 15th of April, 1955. There's my old friend, Fred Stykes. And here's Ed Kepley. And we have Frank and Gary Kepley. We were down there after those big crappie, and it sure looks like we got them. Here's Frank taking off for the lake to try his hand. He'd already caught a bunch of these. Now that's what I call slab crappies. Fred Stykes and me. Fred was an excellent fisherman, whether it was for crappie or... Here we are over on Big Pine Lake, fishing off of Mr. and Mrs. Skin's dock. And Hubert Kinzer and his wife and Mary and Frank and I, we drove up there over Decoration Day of 1955. Here's some of the nice crappie we caught over at Pine Lake. We're back in the front yard of the folks' place on Mille Lacs Lake. Was staying up there with Grandma and Grandpa then for a short while. Here's Hubert dressing out some of the fish. July the 9th, 1955. We're back in Minnesota on vacation this time. We have Frank and Carol with us, and Frank's getting ready to show us a new dive there. He was never afraid of water, and neither was Carol. They both turned out to be real good swimmers. Well, here's Fred Stykes and my friend Oscar Hook at Bennett Springs State Park in Missouri on the 27th day of August 1955. Here's Oscar and Fred right out in that stream trying their luck. Both of them are excellent fishermen. Looks like Fred got one. And here I am with a few, getting ready to clean them right there in the stream. These pictures are at Gravois Mills at Oscar and Elsie Hook's summer home on the Lake of the Ozarks. They were taken the 17th and the 18th of September, 1955. Here's Frank caught his first fish, that is, at the Lake of the Ozarks. He's a pretty little thing, isn't he? Trying for a bigger one. He's decided to go swimming now. Here's Elsie. There's Oscar out in the water with Mary and Frank and Carol. Elsie and Oscar are very, very good friends. Looks like Oscar's getting ready to take the children for a ride. Faster the better. Good shot of Carol and Frank and Oscar sitting in the back of the boat there. Boy, Carol's caught a big one. Look at that one. Frank's so excited he don't know what to do. He's going to say, if she can do it, I can do it. Well, it looks like it is a little bit larger. Yeah, Carol, that's a nice bass. Big mouth bass. Looked like Frank caught two at the same time. Time again, and this is Carol's 12th birthday, 1955. And it looks like her taste has gone from dolls to dresses. Parties again down in the rec room. Carol Jones, Sharon Walker. There's Carol. And there's her brother. He's not waiting on anybody. Well, here we are on the farm of Joe and Dolly Beakey. Very good friends. I used to work with Joe at Standard Oil sales department. He was assistant office manager. They have a daughter, Skeeter. Here comes Skeeter, giving Frank a ride on the back of the pony. Here's Mary and Joe. Really a great, super guy. He was really a great person. Skeeter had a way with horses, and ever since she was a little girl, she always liked ponies and horses. Even had one when they lived out on Montgall. Well, this is Easter of 1955, May the 1st. Frank and Carol all dressed up. Got a crew cut. It's vacation time again. Summer of 1955. We're in the Black Hills of South Dakota. On a little stream here, just close enough for the children to enjoy wading in the creek and exploring the woods. This was a very beautiful place to spend a vacation. Deadwood, South Dakota. And of course it wouldn't be complete without visiting the graves of Calamity Jane and Wild Bill Hickok. Another scene in a mountain stream somewhere there in South Dakota. Really, it's a beautiful spot. There's the name of the campgrounds if you want to go. And here they are at the gift shop or museum. Here we are driving through one of the many tunnels on your way to the carved faces in the mountain. It was on the shore of this lake where they were filming The Last Hunt with Robert Taylor, and some of the sets are still set up so we could get pictures of them. There they are, some of the buffalo hides, and I think there was a little general store or something. Another tunnel, and we're in the area that they call the Needles because of the shapes of the rocks. This was an interesting stop because the burros would come right out and stop us on the highway and beg crackers or cookies, anything we had. And here we are in the last tunnel, and you can see the faces on the mountain in the distance. Mount Rushmore. This is a very impressive sight. There we are trying to get a closer view. Here's Frank with his buddy Black Elk. Black Elk took a real liking to Frank, and when he came to Kansas City, and Frank and I went to the sports show where he was representing the state of South Dakota, he offered to come out to the Fairmount School and put on a program for them. Another campground just outside of the Buffalo area. This is near Custer, South Dakota. And we took time here to go to a dude ranch and rent horses and take a ride off into the woods. You had to be fast to see that deer taking off through the woods. Now we're in the Dinosaur State Park of South Dakota. And here's a cowboy from Missouri. Now we're in Wall, South Dakota, at the famous Wall Drugstore. Now in the Badlands of South Dakota. In 1955, we're in Hannibal, Missouri, visiting Tom Sawyer's home and where he painted the fence, making a stop in Springfield, Illinois, on our way to visit the seamen. We're with Ruth and Everett, Sandy and Sherry again on Lake Erie. We're waiting here to get on board the big ferry to go out to Pelee Island. It's out in Lake Erie. Monument on Pelee Island. And here's another day on the beach of Lake Erie. And a return visit to Niagara Falls. Home again on North Huddick. Shirley Fosslin and Frank playing out in the backyard. Here Frank's playing like he's the lion tamer. Here they are playing in a tent made out of an old sheet anchored to part of the fence. And here's Carol and Mitty. Very beautiful Cocker Spaniel that Viola Fosslin gave us. Here's Mary with the children down at the Sugar Creek Pool. This is where we gave Carol and Frank swimming lessons. They'd go down there at 7 o'clock of the morning and take lessons, and both of them passed their life-saving. Carol's going to try her luck at high diving. And there goes Frank. They were both good swimmers. Here we are back in Niagara Falls. There's a little mix-up on the 8mm tapes. They were spliced together. But here we are back at the falls and getting to take another ride in the cable car that goes out over the river. And here's the famous Maid of the Mist, getting ready to take its tour under the falls. And here we have pictures of the rapids on the Canadian side. My memory serves me correctly, we on our way from Niagara Falls to Detroit, Michigan. This is one of the campgrounds we stayed in. Here we are at the Ford Museum in Detroit, Michigan. I believe this was the old Edison home and laboratory. one of the old paddle wheels that they have that you can take tours on, go around the estate. And here we have a group of tourists coming into the Ford Museum. Well, here it is, the first day of October 1955, and we're camping at Roaring River State Park. Well, Carol's caught something already. Well, there I am trying my luck at one of the spillways. And I had a little bit of luck. We at least had enough for a meal. Well, it's birthday time again, and here it is Frank's birthday. There's Freddie Mills, 14th day of October 1955. Well, he did better that time. Here's one of the Reynolds girls again, and there's Patricia. Mary and Frank taking a walk at the Bennett Springs State Park. This is fall 1955. It was the 22nd and 23rd. Here's Carol and her mother stopping along the stream. We went down there to try our luck at trout fishing, and also there was Oscar Hook and Fred Stykes. Here's Oscar here. Very pretty time of the year to be there. Well, it looks like I caught one that time. This was Susie's hole. This was a good place to fish. Here you could use bait here. Didn't have to use the artificial lure. There goes Fred Stykes trying to catch another limit. He'd probably already taken a limit to the cabin when this was taken. And this is Bennett Springs. This is where the spring comes up out of the ground and forms the river going down through the park. Here's a little catch that we made. Now that's a nice stringer full of trout. We stayed with this lady here, Mrs. Splain. She run a rooming house there and served meals, family style, and we always enjoyed staying with her. So it looks like it's goodbye to Bennett Springs State Park and the beautiful fall weather they had there. Here we have Christmas, 1955. And of course, Grandma Mac and Grandma Murdoch. Grandpa Murdoch. I don't know if he was asleep or the lights were just too bright. Here's Carol and Grandpa Mac. Mary's getting the Christmas dinner underway. I guess that was the night before Christmas. And here's Carol and Frank with his teddy bear faking it out again that they're waiting for Santa. Well, here it is, Christmas morning, and Carol gets a new pair of roller skates, and Frank gets a new electric train, a new Streamline Zephyr, I think they called it. And he still has it today. A new set of guns. And the lamp was a gift from Grandpa and Grandma Mac that they brought to Frank. Mary had been up early getting things ready for the dinner, and she was tired. Another one of our big Christmas dinners, and it's had a very beautiful table. We always use the ping pong table. Here we have Mom and Molly, Grandma Murdoch, Grandpa Murdoch, Dad, Patricia and Susie and Carol, and Frank. He's down here probably trying to get as close to that plum pudding as he can. Yeah, he's got his hand out. He's waiting on that plum pudding, boy. And so are all the grandchildren. This was a tradition from Grandma Mac. She'd hide that money in there, and the kids wanted to find out where it was. And they liked that whiskey sauce she put on it, too. Here was another all-tin filling station with all the cars and everything to go with it. Looks like everybody's full of turkey and just resting and having a good time. The kids with their sleds. There's Carol and Frank over on Crisp Lake. Looks like Freddie Mills in there with them too. And that was Tommy Mills. Here's Carol trying her hand at painting, and Frank reading a book. This was May 18th and 19th of 1956. That's Joe Majors there, Jim Austin. I worked with both of these men at the Standard, and we had talked about a fishing trip, so we decided and went up to Lake Mille Lacs. Here's Frank bringing in the boat. He went along with us. We're looking over Lake Mille Lacs right now. Of course, being in May, it was still kind of chilly up there, but we were hoping we'd have good luck fishing. Out to get in the boat, show him how it's done. He had on his heavy winter coat, and it looks like Joe's got a nice walleye here. This is our guide. He takes all the credit for the fish we caught. He's even bringing the fish in, so that's a pretty nice catch of walleyes there. And that even looks better. That was in the days when we could go up there and catch some walleye. Looks like Joe's counting them. That's me in the red leather cap. There's Mom and Frank and Dad. Well, here we are back home again. This was June 3rd, 1956. And we're having a picnic in the backyard, and it looks like we've got a couple of chickens there on the rotisserie, and Mary has taken time to sunbathe a little, and Carol and Mitty are playing in front of the roses. Looks like they're almost done too. Yep, here we are. A hungry bunch. Carol's birthday party, February the 28th, 1956. There's the Goodwin boy. The Alphenair. Grandma Murdoch bringing her present over. Carol and Frank. And there's a fast blowout on so many candles. Sharon Walker. Here's Carol and Judy Fuhrer on the 4th day of March 1956, riding their bikes out on Huddock. Here's Frank and Norman on the 10th day of March, flying a kite. Looks like they've got it caught up in the tree, but there goes a lumberjack that can get it. And here's Frank and Norman boxing out in the front yard. When that picture was taken, the pin oak wasn't very old at that time. I had to have it cut down a few years ago, and it was better than 3 foot in diameter. Christmas 1956. Time to open those presents. Here's Frank and his mother. And boy, I've got a big one. Somebody sure fixed that package up pretty. Well, Frank's going to help me. Well, it's a suit of insulated underwear. Just what I needed when I had to work out of doors. Carol gets her luggage. And Frank gets a new sled. This is the year he got his flexible flyer. Well, another one of our big and famous Christmas dinners, with both grandparents there. This time we have Carol and her friend there. Vacation time. This is July 1953. We're north of Woodland Park, which is north of Colorado Springs, and we're camping at Manitou Park in Woodland Park. Here's the Garden of the Gods, the balanced rock, the Scotchman Rock, and a view of the gardens from the roadway above the gift shop. Here's Mount Manitou and the Incline Railway. Now we're at Seven Falls. Well, here's little chipmunk, and Carol and Frank were always feeding the chipmunks. And now the three of them are at the top of the falls. These are the hairpin curves on Cheyenne Mountain going to the Will Rogers Shrine. We're overlooking the Broadmoor Hotel and grounds from the shrine. Here's Frank right at the shrine. This is the Green Mountain Falls. There's supposed to be a lot of gold in this road, and the three of them stopped to look for gold. And now they're going to visit the church at Green Mountain Falls. This is just outside of Colorado Springs. Carol and Frank playing make-believe in an old stagecoach on the Ute Pass. This is the famous Gold Camp Road from Victor or Cripple Creek through its many tunnels. This road was out of Colorado Springs. It was all one-way traffic, and not too much of that. There's an abandoned gold mine near Victor, showing Pikes Peak in the distance. This is the road down Phantom Canyon to the Royal Gorge. And it was lunchtime in the canyon, and then on to the gorge. We sure did pick some pretty places to have lunch. Here we are at the Royal Gorge. It's a long ways down to the bottom of that gorge. But we finally made it, and everybody's dipping their feet in the Arkansas River. We spent the night here on Tennessee Pass. Found out later, when we were bothered with weird noises, found they had been camping on top of a train tunnel all night. And here we are wading in a stream near Tennessee Pass. A little bit chilly here on the pass. But Frank and Carol enjoy playing in the snow, and they wanted to get as high as they could. We're now in the Rocky Mountain National Park, Estes Park, Colorado. This is Chasm Falls. Then we have the Long Peak Range. And the Mummy Range, shot from the Trail Ridge Road. Here we are at Grand Lake, Colorado. This is the Summit House in the park, and we took a rest here. Frank, he's looking over at Iceberg Lake. Now we're on one of our hikes up to Bear Lake and then on to Dream Lake. Again, the chipmunks are begging from us. And here we are at Dream Lake. This was really a beautiful place to hike to. It's picnic time again, and this time it's in the Big Thompson Canyon. Now just outside of Estes Park, we go to one of the corrals and rent horses to take a pack trip back in on the mountainside. These are scenes at the Asplin Glen campground in the Rocky Mountain National Park. And now we're heading home through the Big Thompson Canyon. We're at Buffalo Bill's grave atop Lookout Mountain. Now Denver, Colorado, the capital of Colorado. Frank's birthday, 10 years old, 14th of October 1956, and it looks like he's really got a gang of kids there for that party. I don't know what the games were, but they were sure having a lot of fun. Looks like he's going to get some help from the wind today. Here's Frank and Carol sleighing. I'm not just exactly sure, but there he goes. Frank and Fred Mills at Swope Park. It's always a lot of fun when it's feeding time at the zoo. This is 1957, and we're on our way to see Aunt Virginia and Uncle Rex in Downey, California. This part of the trip is across Colorado. A chance to play in the snow. And a chance to fill up the ice chest with a little snow. Now we're approaching the California side, and we will be going into the Tioga Pass area and over Tioga Pass. This now is part of the Yosemite National Park. Really a nice place to take float trips in an inner tube or on a raft. And here we have Yosemite Falls. We're at San Jose, California. And this is Catherine, Mary's cousin, Catherine Murdoch. And now at Carmel by the Sea, Carmel, California. Here we are in San Francisco. Down on Fisherman's Wharf. And there's the trolley car. Here we are with Aunt Jenny and James Dyer. There goes Janet. And now we're at Disneyland. There goes Frank and Jimmy. And now a day at Knott's Berry Farm. Frank and Jimmy having a shower bath out in the yard. Downey, California. In Kettle Lake in Minnesota. The Seamans and us shared a big double cabin here on the lake, and the folks come over to have a picnic with us. And now back over on Mille Lacs. Here's Frank playing around in the lake, and here's Daddy and Frank running in. And now we have Carol, Frank, and Mary coming in off the lake. Here's Frank and I having a little rifle practice in 1958 while we were up on Mille Lacs. And here we are up at Bemidji, Minnesota. Same year, 1958. Now we're at Scenic State Park. we're staying in a tent here. Here's Frank getting ready to help me put the motor on the boat. Well, it looks like he did it all, so we might as well just let him run it. The other little boy is a little boy we met up there from Minneapolis.